Hi everyone, it's Christy from Green Eyed Tarot. Today I'm here to kick off a new series on my channel called Spread It Out Sundays. The idea for this series came when I was reading through one of my guidebooks for one of my tarot decks, and I came across a really great tarot spread. And I started thinking, pretty much every guidebook you get comes with at least one or two spreads that you can try when you're getting to know the deck. And I find a lot of my spreads on Instagram, which is a great place to find them. But I'm thinking I probably have a whole treasure trove of them right here in my house in the tarot and oracle deck collection that I already have. I typically pull one card a day. Sometimes I do a 3-card spread. I have a week behind spread I have that helps me reflect on the week that has just passed. But in general, I don't really do a lot of tarot spreads, especially not ones that are more than 3 cards. And I'd like that to change. And I thought the best place to get started and start exploring different spreads is just to go to the guidebooks for the decks that I already have. So the idea is that I'm going to pull 2 decks every week and pick a spread from the guidebook and share it with you. I'll read what the cards stand for, what each position stands for, and then pull some cards to go along with it just to see what kind of messages we get and see if we like the spread. So that's it. That's the basis for the whole series. Just getting to know the spreads from my tarot and oracle decks. If that sounds something like that you would enjoy, then stick around. I'm going to flip the camera around so that we can look at the spreads and pull some cards. Okay, I'm back, everyone. So the first deck that I've decided to pick a spread from is from the Witch Sister Tarot. So the Witch Sister Tarot is by Julia Jeffrey. She's one of my favorite artists in general, definitely one of my favorite tarot artists. And the Tarot of the Hidden Realm is one of my favorite decks. So I've really been enjoying getting to know the Witch Sister Tarot. It definitely has a different feel than the Tarot of the Hidden Realm. And it certainly doesn't follow the traditional tarot meanings or necessarily the tarot structure. The suits have been renamed. Some of the majors have been renamed. But it has a really witchy and Celtic energy, and I absolutely love it. So I've been really enjoying connecting with it. So the spread that we're going to be looking at from the Witch Sister Tarot is the Charm of Iron spread. So this has 5 cards, and it's in the shape of a horseshoe. The guidebook says, in the 9 of Stones, we spoke of the protective power of iron and how this was used to safeguard women in childbirth, as well as newborn infants. Now we will explore this specially created spread themed around this potent protective charm from Scottish folklore and the malevolent fairy magic that it seeks to repel. The 5 cards are arranged to represent the horseshoe, the charm of iron. Okay, so card number 1 is the child. The child represents what is precious to us, what we need to protect in this situation. Card number 2, the fae. The fae represents the threat, someone or something that seeks to steal the child away from us or harm it. Card number 3, the midwife. The midwife is our ally, someone or an aspect of ourselves who will help us protect the child. The midwife knows the rituals that must be enacted and has many years of experience to draw upon. Card 4, the changeling. The changeling shows us our fears of how the child may be taken away from us and transformed into a false version. Card number 5, iron. Iron is what will enable us to successfully protect the child and see off the forces that would threaten us. So really interesting. I love the descriptions for each one of the positions and the cards. So card number 1, the child. So it's representing what's precious to us. So that's what we need to protect. The fae is the threat, so that's what's seeking to harm us or take the child away. So basically, number 1 is what's precious to us. So that's what needs our protection. Number 2 is the someone or something that is basically threatening the thing that we would want to protect. The midwife is our ally. So that's an aspect of ourself or someone who's going to help us. So that's what's going to support us as we try to protect what is precious to us. Card number 4, the changeling, is our fears of how it might be taken away. So this might be the fears that are holding us back or giving us false ideas. So maybe a false ideology or just things that maybe thought patterns, negative thought patterns that are holding us back. And then 5 is iron is what will enable us to successfully protect the child and see off the forces that would threaten us. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave the book out right here next to me so that I can refer to this, because I'm going to have to refer to it, I'm sure. So let's get our Witch Sister deck out. And I just absolutely love this bag that I had. It's all broomsticks that I found that I had. I had this bag and it was vacant. So I thought, what a perfect match for the Witch Sister tarot. Okay. So let me adjust the camera. All right, so we have the camera top down. So now we can pull some cards from the Witch Sister tarot. I usually don't riffle shuffle. I'm not really a fan. I find it like bends the cards, but so I usually overhand shuffle. I don't know why. I know like most people love the riffle shuffling, but I'm usually an overhand. I think it's because my hands are so small and it ends up hurting my fingers. I have carpal tunnel and it usually ends up just hurting my fingers. And so I just don't do it that often. And also too, it bends the cards. I don't like having that bow in my deck. I just don't. So it ends up hurting my hands more than anything. So I do tend to riffle shuffle. Overhand shuffle. Okay, so we've got the deck. We have to pull 5 cards for this Charm of Iron spread from the Witch Sister Tarot. All right. And how I normally pull cards is by just shuffling back and forth between my 2 hands. It's interesting how people pull cards, like they spread them out, they just cut the deck. So interesting to see the different ways that people pull their cards. And like, this is just how I've been doing it like forever. I just keep pushing them, putting them back and forth, kind of shuffling between hand to hand. And then when I feel ready, when I feel called, I pull the card. Okay, so this is going to be our card number 1 for the child. Okay, so we pulled the 4 of Trees. So the trees in this deck, like I said, the suits have been renamed. So the trees in this deck represent the pentacles, if I'm correct. I believe, yeah. No, the trees are the wands. Sorry, the trees are the wands in this deck. So we pulled the 4 of Wands. And it's such a beautiful deck. If you look in the smoke, there's like faces of people and there's like a hare and a stag. So there's like animals and people. So normally, like we see in a traditional 4 of Wands, it's like that celebratory type of energy, right? We have, it looks like there's a celebration happening and there's like the 2 figures in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. And they're under the, what looks like an arch, or it's meant to be, almost like a, like, what do you call those things that are set up to when you're celebrating, and they put like you have like it's not a cupola, that's not what I'm thinking of, but it's that celebratory energy. For me, this takes on a very different meaning. Like I was saying, the Witch Sister Tarot it has a very different feeling than the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. So we have the 4 of Trees, which is the 4 of Wands. And I see this card just from the imagery, just the way I see it as almost like it's a celebration of ancestors, your ancestors and your lineage and those that went before you, and really honoring, maybe an honoring type of energy, and honoring that line that went before you, and honoring that connection, and that feeling of like it's Samhain when you set extra places at your table, those empty chairs for those that went before, because we know that, typically the mythology and the lore is that the veil is thinnest, right? That's thinning around that time. So that's when they can come and be present with you at the table. So it reminds me of that type of celebration where we're celebrating and inviting our ancestors in. So this represents what is precious to us and what we need to protect in this situation. So what I'm getting is that we want to protect that connection to our ancestors and the lineage, the line that went before us. And that's our human ancestors and our ancestors of place. That could be like animals and plant ancestors and things like that. So that's precious to us. That connection is precious to us. So this is, in my mind, this is what we need to protect, that connection that we have, and that very celebratory aspect of honoring, our ancestors and those who went before us. And this is just my interpretation. I'm not reading from the guidebook. We can definitely look at the guidebook. I think it's a good idea because Julia Jeffrey wrote an amazing guidebook, and it's so full of references that give you so much meaning. It adds so much context. So, okay, so number 1 was the child. Card number 2 is the Fae. This represents our threat, right? The someone or something that is threatening this thing that we hold so precious. So card number 2, the Fae, is threatening us. This is something or someone that's threatening this connection. And it could be coming from within us, right? It doesn't mean it's somebody outside. Okay, we have the 2 of Waters. That's really interesting, which is the 2 of Cups. So waters are cups in this deck. So we have the 2 of Waters. That is a really interesting. So how could that be threatening us? Let's think about we know about the 2. The 2 of Cups, or the 2, in this case, the 2 of Waters, has that partnership energy, right? We always say that when we're pulling cards about love and relationships, we don't necessarily want to see the lovers. We want to see the 2 of Cups because it's about that really solid partnership, right? It's about that equal parts. It's about everyone, the two pieces coming together in equal partnership, and that push and pull, right? That give and take. That's like, it works so well. You guys, you balance each other out, and so it definitely has that duality piece to it. So in just thinking about how this could represent a threat or someone or something that seeks to steal this away from us. So maybe we can see this as someone, maybe a partner, like a romantic partner, your life partner, the person that you share your life with. Maybe that's somewhat of a threat. Maybe there's there's almost creating almost a barrier between you and connecting with your lineage. Or maybe there's some sort of judgment about your ancestral heritage and, that lineage. And just thinking about the witch sister itself and the name of it and the identification as a witch, and then how that relates to how you connect to ancestral knowledge, and even just ancestral as in other witches who've gone before you, not necessarily your family or like the blood that's gone before you, but just that connecting to those who identified as witches and who practiced that, and like who worshipped, who worshipped as pagans, and things like that. So maybe there's something threatening that, something in a relationship, and maybe it's a relationship, like I said, a romantic partner, or maybe it's just someone you're really close to. Maybe it's a friend, a partner that's a friend. Maybe it's a partner in business, who's not really understanding what that connection is and how you can connect to ancestors and ancestral knowledge, and that connection and honoring that is not something that they feel like is necessary, or they don't think that that's important, or they can't recognize that the importance of that's what we hold precious. So maybe that's who's threatening. That's where we see that threat of someone or something. And it could be someone who's very close. Like I said, someone we're very close to, that we have a partnership with, and we value their input, and we value the energy they bring, and something within them is threatening that or sees it as threatening that connection or the honoring that we have, with those that have gone before us. And whether that's, like I said, witches or people who identified as witches, and that sort of knowledge, that collective knowledge, and that's what we connect with. Okay, so card number 3 is the midwife, is our ally. So this is an aspect of someone or ourselves who's going to help us protect this. And it says the midwife knows the rituals that must be enacted, has many years of experience to draw upon. Okay, so this is card number 3, the midwife. All right, let's see what we get for this one. This deck is so challenging. I feel like it really challenges me to think. Ooh, the Ace of Skies. So the Ace of Swords. So Skies is swords. So the Ace of Skies. And I think of the Ace of Swords as that, like, almost like that. I always think of the aces as that spark, right, of that elemental energy that really burst, the burst of the elements, right, that essence of the element. So this being skies, swords, the air, so that air element. So this burst of like clarity, truth, like acknowledging truth, having that clarity, that clear minds, right? We're like clearing our minds. We're getting that really airy sword energy. And I feel like that's always what the aces do. It gives you that burst. It's starting us off in that suit. It's the first card in the minor arcana in each one of the suits. And it's giving us that burst of energy. You know, we need that burst of that element. So interesting that would be the midwife. We got this in the midwife spot in this spread. And the midwife knows the rituals that must be enacted. Many years of experience to draw upon. That kind of makes sense to me. The Ace of Skies is like wisdom, right? We think of the swords as being sort of the suit of like wisdom and the mind, right? So what we know, and how we have to sort of connect it. I like that the Two of Waters is here. So connecting mind and heart, like of what we know. So this is going to help. This is the aspect that's going to help us is what we know as truth, and having that sort of clear mind and clarity, and just this burst of just that mindful, in your mind, right? We think of the word mindful and being mindful. It takes effort. It's deliberate. It's intentional. So thinking about our intentions and our intentionality, and how is that going to help protect us? So maybe being really intentional and mindful about how we bring our partner, how bring our partnerships into our connection with our ancestor, our ancestral line, right? And connecting and honoring that, and really making them a part of that. And to help them understand, and having that truth, and honoring that truth within ourselves, and then sharing that truth with our partner might be something that's going to help us in this midwife slot. This is going to be what really helps us, because we understand how important this connection is and how precious this is to us. This celebratory and honoring energy of all that has gone before us, right? And using this fiery, wand energy, using that as a creative driving force, and then having someone who we trust so much and built a partnership with so much, who doesn't understand that, who may be like putting up a barrier, or they don't understand it, so they don't want us to participate, right? It's something that they don't understand, so maybe it's something they fear and they don't understand it, or they don't understand the witch in us, possibly. So just thinking about people close to us, and then thinking about that what is our truth, and knowing what our truth is. So using that burst of energy to understand what our truth is, and to live our truth and know our truth, and then share that with the partners. Like that might be what is going to help us protect this precious connection we have. Okay, so card 4 is the changeling. So the changeling shows us our fears of how the child may be taken away from us and transformed into a false version. So our fears of what may happen if we lose this, right? If we lose what is precious to us. So number 4. So what fears might be driving this need, this real need to protect, right? What is most precious to us in the child, the card number 1 slot. So let's pick card number 4 and see what we get. Like I said, this deck challenges me so much to just really dig deep and make those connect. Ooh, the Death card. Okay. I feel like shit just got real. Okay, so the Death card is the Changeling. The Changeling shows us our fears. Ooh, okay, so fears, right? What do we fear? I mean, I feel like death, we always say, is like, it shouldn't be something to fear. When we get the Death card, and it should not automatically be like something that like you're like, oh my God, someone's dying or I'm dying, right? And we don't think of it that way. But there's always that little, like, it doesn't matter, I'm still afraid of this. No matter how many times I tell myself, like, the Death card is fine. It is fine. You know what I mean? I'm a rational person and I understand what these messages could possibly mean. But there's always that element of fear with the Death card. So the Changeling shows us our fears. So I feel like the fear here in relation to all this that we see on the table right now, the fear of how this could be taken away from us is really sort of that, the fear is that death, right? Like that death of our connection to, that severing our connection to what makes us a witch or what makes us who we are, right? The people that have gone before us, the traditions that have gone before us, the traditions that have been carried on, just everything, our connection to certain geographic places, severing the death of that is something that we really fear. And maybe we're fearing that our own truth about that can align with the partnerships in our lives, or there's something blocking the people we love and are connected to now, in the here and now. There's something blocking their understanding of how connected we are to our ancestors. And I feel like the Death card is, because there is that feeling of rebirth, like in this card image right now, we see a figure who's pregnant, who's bringing life, right? But then we see this older figure that looks like they're transitioning to the next stage, right? After death or through death. And so it's both sides, right? Both sides of those, both sides of the both sides of a coin, right? There, again, there's that duality. So we see the Two of Waters. There's a big duality there. And then the Death card with these two figures in it. And I feel like just this connection here of where they're facing each other. So in the Two of Waters, they're like mirror images. They're staring into each other's eyes. And then in the Death card, these two are looking away from each other, almost like we're on different paths. But there's still a connection between them by that, like almost no space between them. They're almost back to back. And there's a connection there, but they're looking away almost like they're on different paths. So maybe the fear is that not only we fear losing that connection and being able to honor the connections we have to ancestors the way we want to, and embracing the truth of that and having the people that are in our lives understand that truth. But maybe we're also afraid of taking a different path, like having that, losing it, like severing that connection in order to make the people in our lives feel comfortable. So we're afraid of what path that's going to take us on and how that path may be away from, it may be in direct competition with who we actually are, like our authentic selves. So almost like the death of ourselves. And what is that going to mean? So I feel like the fear there is like losing that connection, but then also losing ourselves and what we know to be true, like our clarity and our truth, and what we know to be mindfully intentional in our lives and our practice and what we need to do. So I don't know. That's just me. Those are the feelings I'm getting. This is what's coming to me. This is without the guidebook. This is just sort of as I'm seeing the imagery and what's coming up as I'm connecting all of these things. So card number 5 is Iron. Iron is what will enable us to successfully protect the child and see off the forces that would threaten us. So Iron sounds like, right? Iron is sort of strong. So this is like, Iron is that solid. So card number 5 is going to be really what we can the action, I feel like that's solid, like action, practical action we can take. And this is what's going to really help us protect card number 1 here, which, like I said, to me represents more sort of that celebratory and honoring of our ancestral line and collective knowledge that has gone before us, and how we can tap into that. And we want to be able to celebrate that openly and authentically. So let's see what our card number 5 is going to be, the Iron. Okay, so we need some strength here. We need some good, solid foundations. I feel like we're calling on the Emperor, maybe the Hierophant for that tradition. Okay, so we got the 3 of Stones. So the 3 of Pentacles. So this is the 3 of Pentacles. So the 3 of Stones. Okay, well, stones are solid. So there we have our solid foundation, our connection to earth. That's our pentacles. That's our earth energy. So that the 3 of Stones is connecting us to earth. So we have that sort of solid, that feeling of being solid and on solid ground. So that makes sense. But how is the 3 of Stones going to be, how is that going to successfully help us protect this? While also protecting this, I feel like. Because I do feel like these are connected because of this 2 of Cups. So how is that 3 of Stones? If we think about the 3 of Pentacles, it's work, it's collaboration, right? It's working together. It's kind of all doing our part, right? If we think about the 3 of Pentacles, it's that energy of we're all working together for the same goal, and so it's coming together. I mean, that makes sense in terms of we're gonna have to be on the same page, like the people in our lives who we love and who we're close to and who have a strong partnership with and connection with, and who we rely on to accept us as our authentic selves, to accept us as for who we are. I feel that obviously there has to be that combined energy, being on the same page, working together, even if there's a lack of clear understanding, if there isn't that clarity necessarily in the other person, but just the attempt is there to have that collaboration. I'd love to see what the guidebook says about the 3, like read the guidebook entry for the 3 of Stones, since we haven't gone to the guidebook at all. And maybe some of you are like, why don't you pull out the guidebook? But I do like to this really just helps me get to know these cards, is just by sort of looking at the imagery and connecting them and trying to use my intuition. But Julia Jeffrey has, like I said, this is an amazing guidebook. So the 3 of Stones. So let's look at the divinatory meaning, because there's a little sort of background about the card itself, but let's look at the divinatory meaning. So the 3 of Stones gives us a picture of work that is meaningful to us. We see Catherine engaging with the 3 realms and weaving those different elements together skillfully and with assurance. Catherine's neighbors reported the great success of her cures, as when she took a sick man down to the shore before dawn and there poured 3 basins full of the seawater over his head, leading to his full recovery. Her healing all involves interacting with nature in a primal and almost poetic way. She once saves an afflicted man by walking him around the loch in silence. There is much beauty in the elemental simplicity of her approach. The 3 of Stones tells us to get the basics right. Whatever we are building, we must lay our foundation with the greatest care. It will also help us to pay attention to nature. Take time to feel its different textures on our skin. Be still and breathe in the scent of the earth. Okay, so we are getting the message of building and laying those foundations, right? So we have that, like I said, that solid stone energy, which I think is very important. Like we said, iron. In the iron slot, in this charm of iron, it's the strength. It's that which is going to protect us. So our connection to nature and making sure we maintain that connection to the earth and grounding energy and staying grounded is going to help us protect this 4 of trees, this 4 of wands, this 4 of wands energy. That's going to help us, it's going to help us protect that. So I think it definitely makes sense. I think having that foundation. And so maybe that's the key here, is that we have to lay these foundations from the beginning. So I feel like entering into any kind of partnership or relationship, and I'm not necessarily talking about work, like a work partnership, because a work partnership, there are things that you're not going to tell coworkers or about yourself. Maybe, I don't know. There are definitely things that you're not going to just share openly. Or maybe you will, but in my case, just using myself as an example, I'm not going to go into my workplace and be like, by the way, I'm a witch. I identify as a witch. And some people may be completely comfortable doing that, and some people, you know what I mean, may do that and be on a, and it's like it's totally fine for them. For me, I don't have that level of comfort, I guess, maybe, and that could be like because I'm not confident enough or secure enough to be my authentic self at work. I'm authentic in terms of how I am and how I behave and how I act and my work ethic and like things like that, but I don't. So not necessarily in the but just in relationships in general. Like I'll use myself as an example, is like when I met my partner, my current partner now, and I was at a place in my life where I finally felt I was able to just be myself. Like I'd gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm not hiding who I am anymore. Like this is who I am. And so when we got into a relationship, it was very open about my beliefs and my spirituality, and that was really important to me. And it wasn't important to me that he accepted or that he be like, I wasn't asking for his permission, if that makes sense. I wasn't asking for him to like co-sign on like what I was doing, you know, in my spiritual practice, or how I believed, or if I identified as a witch, or that I read tarot cards, or whatever it was, I needed just him to know this is who I am. You will know who I am and everything about me, because that's the foundation. The foundation, that's the solid foundation of our relationship is open. We're open, we're honest, there's trust, we build trust, and our partnership can only be a partnership if you know each other. Like if you know everything about me in terms of something as big as a spiritual belief and things like me connecting to my ancestors, things like that, that's big. That's a big thing and a huge part of who I am. So I needed him to know that. So from the beginning, I never hid any of those things about myself. And I think that's what the Three of Stones is saying, is that the foundation and that has to be laid in order for this understanding. So maybe if it wasn't in this partnership, in this Two of Waters, if it wasn't, and then there's a question about it, or I don't understand, or this is not something that I knew, and so it's confusing to me, it's scary to me, I don't understand it, it's not something that's I've ever, been a part of. I've never known anyone who have these beliefs or has this connection to ancestors and a lineage of people, and even just connecting, like I said, to collective witch lineage. So that's where there could be a threat to what you're holding precious and something that's so much a part of you. And that's where this clarity and like sort of this dose of, being mindful and understanding what your truth is, your truth, to help this person, this relationship over here, continue to grow. And then that fear of having it be like the death of yourself. Again, like for me, it would have been the death of my new way of being totally accepting of myself. So that might be my biggest fear, is that how is this going to change me? Will there be this death of like my authentic self again, where I sort of just hide who I am and not be who I am and just change who I am to fit into a relationship? And that's not really a true partnership. You're not really having that balance and that trusting give and take if you're hiding a part of yourself. So having that fear. So to me, this Charm of Iron spread is amazing. I love the prompts. It really makes you think. Like I said, this deck is so great for making you think. And I love not using the guidebook. I'm not saying that I love the guidebook. I think it's great. I've read it like through because it reads like a story and it gives you so much background. And if you want to connect to that Celtic, Scottish witchcraft, like, heritage and just the legends and mythology around it, it's amazing. But I love these cards are so evocative, and Julia Jeffrey's art gives us so much because of the facial expressions. And like, again, I said the positioning, just like looking at this, there's two people, there's two figures in both of these cards, but just the positioning and the way they're looking at each other and mirroring each other, and like the way they're looking away from each other. It gives so much more meaning when we connect to those things, the imagery in the cards. So I love just pulling these cards and just trying to connect, and having that spread as a guide is amazing. It's guiding, it's just guiding those messages, that are coming through, and having that. So the Charm of Iron spread from the Witch Sister Tarot I'm so excited that this is the first spread I'm sharing for Spread It Out Sunday. So the Charm of Iron spread from the Witch Sister Tarot. It's amazing. Let me know what you think of this. I feel like this video has gone way longer than it was supposed to, so I think I'm going to stop here and only share the one spread for today. But going forward, hopefully I can share two spreads. We'll see. I don't want these to be really long videos, and I tend to ramble, so there's that. But I think I'm going to leave it here because it's so beautiful, the Witch Sister, and I just feel like I got so many great messages. So please let me know what you think. Let me know if you have this deck, if you've done this spread. What did you think? Do you like this spread? Was it really challenging for you? To me, this was really challenging. This really challenged my intuition, and again, using the imagery in the cards and not going to the guidebook and just using the feelings I'm getting, from the artwork and from what I know about the meanings, the traditional meanings of the cards. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if this is something that you are looking forward to, if you'd love to see more spreads, please consider liking this video. Please share it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my little old channel, because I'm very close to having 1,000 subscribers, and my Capricorn brain is really focused on that number. The Capricorn in me and the Leo in me, it just can't stop focusing on that number. So I would love to get it up to 1,000 so that my Capricorn brain can just stop. So I would appreciate your help with that. I look forward to just hearing what you have to say in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.